What is up, everyone? Hello. Checking out this microphone, make sure it's still working. What's going on, everyone? John with Motivation Theory Running. How is everyone this Tuesday? I don't know why, but I woke up this morning thinking it was Thursday. I have no clue why. Days don't mean anything anymore. But it is Tuesday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. The first official Motivation Theory Running hangout. Just let me mute myself. All right, let me get switched over here. How is everybody? Hey Joe, what's going on, man? What we're talking about today. Hold on, let me go and bring that up. There we go. So today we're going to be talking about, and it should come up. I'm looking at a delay. Probably doesn't help when I'm looking at the delay. We're going to be talking about what races are going to look like in the fall. First, whether or not we think they're going to happen. That's still up in the air. I know a lot of the Olympics was postponed to 2021. I haven't even started to hear rumors about the races starting early. So I don't know. So we're going to talk about things like what do we think the cost is going to change the races if the fields shrink? What do the fields look like? I think what was it what marathon overseas? I just read about it. Hold on. There's one that just happened that they only let the elites run. Now are they going to have races? And is it Tuesday? I think so. I believe so. Depending on where you are. I think if you're in Australia, it's Wednesday, isn't it? But I think so basically I wanted to talk about what's packet pickup going to look like? What are we thinking? What are the starts going to look like? Are they going to do like delayed starts to keep the size of crowds down? Aid stations, what are those going to look like? The rules, are the rules going to change? Are you not going to be allowed to draft or running groups? Are you going to have to stay 6 feet away from everyone? What's the finish going to look like? Are they going to have people putting medals in your heads? Are they going to allow you to bunch up? I know when I finished the Marine Corps marathon, it gets really bunched up. I mean, you're chest to back, especially if you're in the middle of the pack there, like I am. You get smushed up pretty good. So that's what we're going to be talking about. I would hey Leslie, it's almost Wednesday here. Yeah, I was looking. The funny thing when I started setting times for this, I was trying to look around the world because I do have a global audience here, and it's trying to figure out like what time it is everywhere. And and I think some people in the UK it's late at night, like 10ish around there. I know Australia it's already tomorrow. I think it's coming up a morning. That's crazy. So who got in here? We got Joe. So I just talked about what we're going to be talking about today. So I'd love to start hearing everyone's thoughts on this. Grindle says, I'm furloughed. I'm losing track of the days, weeks. After a week already. I'm losing track of the month. Like, it's crazy to me. I lost most of March, and April is a blur. I can't believe it's May already. That's weird to me. It's weird, and it's weird for probably the whole world. That's the first thing I've seen in my lifetime that we're all kind of around the world experience the same exact craziness. Yeah, it's 10 p.m. in UK. So I was right. So you guys are on the later end of things. It's here. It's obviously it's 5 p.m. on the East Coast. A lot earlier on the West Coast. So I'm just trying to find a spot that would fit with everyone, at least so it's not too crazy. And I'm only going to do these probably half hour long to not keep everybody too long. This isn't going to be like the, was it a beer? It was. It's the Vienna Lager. Devil's Backbone. Virginia beer. It's a great beer. At 11 o'clock in the Netherlands. Thomas got the eagle eye. He's like, hey, wait a minute. It still makes me laugh. Is it Tuesday? Joe says, I'm training. Like it's all still going on. I got a big fall plan. I think a lot of us are. I think, we can't, because running is one of those things you can't fake. You can't fake it. You can't just show up on race day being like, well, I decided to not train. You can do that and it's going to be miserable. But we invest a lot of time and money in this stuff. So we take it kind of serious. So I've been thinking about this, like what's it going to be like when you start these races again? So I've run races that are really big races, like marathons that are like number wise. And I run smaller races that are more local races. And I think the local races can control that stuff a lot easier. Like a 24-hour race that I run, it's a lot smaller race and it's in the woods and it's on trail. So I think there's the ability to really control all of those aspects that could be dangerous for large crowds. I don't know how like the marathons can do it with the travel in, with the metro systems, the train systems that go in. I know when I take the train in to DC when the Marine Corps Marathon's going on, I mean you're packed and it's you got to get used to being around people. It's a day of being packed around people. I mean all day long from when you start getting there to start to running the race to the aid stations, and when you finish and when you go home, I mean you're packed with people. There's no staying away from people. Joe says, I have a 12-hour in 5 weeks. Right now, it's still a go. That's awesome. I mean, it's kind of. I mean, I'm glad people they're not canceling just way out in advance. I know some. Was it London and Barcelona postponed till fall? But I know here in the States, most of our marathons, I believe, are. I think not in Boston, but Richmond's in fall. Marine Corps Marathon's in the fall. So. I'm hoping the fall ones go. I hope the JFK goes. I guess it just depends on whether or not if they start to loosen things here over the next couple months, and then we see a spike again, then we'll probably have a bad fall. But if they start to loosen things up, I think we'll likely have maybe pretty good fall if things go well for everyone. Anthony says, I've been doing virtual races better than nothing, but a little boring. Yeah. The virtual races, I ran the treadmill 50K, and it wasn't a virtual race, but it definitely was a challenge for me. I enjoyed it as much as you can enjoy it. You're running for 7+ hours on a treadmill, but I mean, I think the virtual races are kind of a good thing. I think one thing runners are they're really into community and doing things like that together. So I think it's good to keep our mind on stuff and on goals. I mean, that's the biggest thing with me with races. Races are fun, but they're also a goal. They're a point in time that I needed to train for. I know if I don't have races, it's not good. My motivation goes down. Thomas says, love it, one of my fave. I'm losing track of time. Are you talking about the beer? You have to remind me what you're talking about. Joe says, I ran a solo marathon on Sunday, and honestly, I got a little bored. Yeah. When you run over 15, I'd say, when you start hitting like 20 miles, when you start running that solo, that gets to be kind of tough because it is boring. I used to run years ago. I've always run solo. I had a buddy that I went to high school with who was training for a marathon, and I'm known amongst all my friends as somebody who runs a lot. So he called me and asked if he could train with me, and it was awesome. It was the first time in my running career that I had somebody to kind of train with, and it was awesome to go out and run on 15, 20 mile training runs, and it just made it seem like it made it go so much easier than normal. So there's something to be said to have somebody to run with, or at least around to talk to. As tough as that treadmill 50K was, it would have been even tougher had I not been live streaming it and had all of you guys out there kind of keeping my mind off of it and being held accountable. I mean, if you weren't all there watching me, who knows? When I dipped, I might have been like, I'm going to go take a break for half an hour or just quit. I don't know. I probably wouldn't, but the option's already there, is always there when nobody's watching. Grindle said 2020 shapes to be a depressing year. Managed to squeeze in 2 races only. 2 postponed, and already announced dates collide. We'll have to make some choices. My target is the first ultra in October. Yeah, I didn't even think about that. So there's going to be a lot of rescheduling, which is going to cause some conflicts, because it could be even for venues, because I know some half marathon races that use a lot of the same course like in Fredericksburg, I know, in Virginia, there's a Marine Corps marathon, and there's like a blue and gray marathon. I think and if they end up delaying things and postponing it, you start running into a lot of issues with cities, and I think getting permits and stuff like that. So that could cause some problems. But you do have your target for your first ultra, so that's awesome in October. I'm hoping to do the JFK in November. So, I just, those are the two races, the Marine Corps Marathon and the JFK. I haven't even allowed myself to like look at other races. I don't want to sign up for any more and have something happen and keep throwing money after these things and having the disappointment and the money. Well, it doesn't usually get through. I've been lucky that some of the races that I've had so far have not been canceled. They kind of postpone and they just wrap your money into the next year, which is great. Thomas Top says recycling goes out tomorrow. Trash day the following day, and every day is a run day. That's how you have to break up the week. Trash days and run days. That's good. Joe said most of the trail races I do are 200 to 300 runners. Maybe staggered start. Thoughts? Hopefully I haven't missed anybody's comment. I'm trying to read down here. I don't have my glasses on. Yeah, so I was thinking, like, if they start having these races and logistically, the amount of people, they got to put them somewhere. So I know in the Marine Corps Marathon has upwards of like 25,000. They always say it's like 30,000 registered, but it always ends up being like 20 to 25,000 that run it. They have you in Runner's Village. That's large enough to keep people like spread out. It's still a lot of people in one zone. They could, theoretically call people in, in hundreds and groups and at start times. I guess that's how in the corrals, they do it by start times. Let the elites go, the wheelchair elites go. And then, the faster people that are breaking under 2 and then under 3 and all the, they could do it that way. I do see that, but logistically that's going to be tough to keep everybody separate. And then when you get the bunching up at the aid stations, I don't know. I'm sure there's probably some smaller marathons that may be more manageable and some larger ones that it's completely not manageable. I think it's probably going to have to be up to each individual race to see how they could do that. But I definitely would not want to be a race director of one of these huge races right now with the amount of money involved and the people and the logistics. So do you guys think that cost? What's your thinking on the cost? If races are now, people canceling, because you had to think like Marine Corps Marathon, that brings a global amount of people from all around the world. That's just not like a local race. It's just mostly local folks. That's people flying in from around the world, and they have to think about that every time they set a date and say we're doing it, and then people set flights, even if they can get flights. Like, that's crazy to me. It's like, what are they going to do with all those people that have booked hotels and flights, and like you can't kind of mess with that stuff. So logistically, that's just going to be hard. But I do think a staggered start is kind of an idea for starting the race off. Greatness every day. Hey man, what's going on? It says my Ironman was postponed to next year, so I get what you're feeling, brother. Keep pushing forward. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Yeah, Ironmans are a whole nother thing because you got more stations to deal with, like with the swimming and the running and the biking and all of the areas that people can congregate and bunch up. That's tough. It is tough. I'm sure probably all the race directors for all these races are probably waiting, and calling each other, asking, how they're going to do things, because races are tough to begin with logistically, but having to deal with this extra kind of thing to have to deal with, I don't even know how they're going to do it. But to start, you can do staggered, like packet pickup. I don't know about you guys. That's another thing. Like, they're usually like in a big conference center type thing. And again, I'll just point out Marine Corps Marathon. They do it like in a big giant place, and there's thousands of people going to pick up their packets. Are they going to move to doing? Because they do allow you to select, I think, for an extra $30, and I think I paid for that to have them mail you your packet and your shirt and all the stuff you get. So maybe they'll do that. Maybe they'll just have to start doing that. But again, that adds another layer of expense to already expensive races. Madeline Bodine says, I have plans on some shorter races this fall and my first ultra in early December. Well, that will be fun. That's exciting to have that first ultra in the headlights and be able to knock that out. I'm hoping some of the shorter races. I'll get into running some 5Ks and 10Ks again if they start having those kind of locally and you can get in and do those. I'll do those because I just miss racing and running and being around other runners. So it's been a long time since I've ran anything under a marathon officially. I think a half marathon is probably about as short as I've gone officially for a long time. But I love 5Ks and 10Ks. Those are a lot of fun. Greatness Every Day says fall is the best time of the year. It is the run. So when I hear people run these marathons when it's getting hot, that's crazy. I couldn't imagine. Like when I run a marathon and and it's like 30 degrees in the morning, I'm happy. But like it could be like 65, 68 in the afternoon and it feels like 100 degrees after you've been running for 3.5 hours. It feels like you're baking, especially when you're running on asphalt. I don't know if anybody else feels that when they run, but colder the better for me. I like it. I like high 30s on a marathon day. Thomas Top, yes, the beer. So you like the Vienna Lager? Yes, it's one of my favorite. That and Blue Moons are my favorite, just kind of go-to beers. I have not been having too many beers. This is probably my second beer this year. With the weight loss, I was thinking I've almost lost 30 pounds. I was kind of thinking, I was doing my math today when I stood on the scale, and at the heaviest I got, it's almost 30 pounds. And I say it's like 26, but like the absolute heaviest after, I was only there for maybe a week before I kind of put myself in check. It's crazy, but I've stayed away from, not that I drank a ton of beer to begin with, but Thomas says, I'm currently doing the great virtual race across Tennessee, the 1,000K, due August 31st. My plan is to do the least 50K as my first 50K run. Do at least a 50K. Okay. Yeah, I've heard about that. Is that one of the Laz's races? Got the crazy, like 1,000K. So you got to do, I haven't read all the rules on that, but it sounds like, do you have to like show your Strava link for every run you do and you have to amass 1,000K before August? And how do they do on the time? Is it, or are they tracking who does it first? I need to go read that. I mean, that's interesting. People brought that up a couple times, and but imagine being able to be a virtual race director now and not have any logistics to deal with. You're just collecting money. And not that it's easy. Believe me, I'm sure putting on a virtual race is not hard. But once you got it down, you got a company that handles all of the mailing and tracking and stuff. I don't know. Seems like a good way to make money. Greatness Every Day says, I've organized small races before, and I can't imagine what those guys are going through with 30,000 people. Yeah, I think, so people have a tendency to go high and the right about races, and the complaints. Like, I've always had a lot of grace when it comes to race directors, because first off, I mean, they're putting on a race for runners. I mean, they're the ones who stood up and raised their hand and say, I will put together a race. And so I've always been very appreciative of people who kind of volunteer to do things and create an environment for a community. And so they're doing it. Now, blatant things are probably not something that are good, but it can't be easy. It cannot be easy for a race director, logistically, especially with like a marathon that's in the middle of a city and closing down stuff and security and paying the police oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. I mean, you got to have a whole company. I mean, Marine Corps Marathon on Quantico has a whole building just for the Marine Corps Marathon to manage their headquarters and all the races. I mean, it's a big money thing. So they got a lot of people handling it, but still, say a lot of money, a lot of people handling it. Joe Kern said, I got my first 100-miler scheduled for September on a 16-mile loop. That should put distance between everybody. I'm not going to lie. If it gets canceled after all the training, I'll be upset. I don't think it's a problem being upset. I know I released a video about, people kind of taking it easy on the race directors when everything first got canceled. I think it's completely legitimate to get upset. I mean, just with anything, I think you just got to own it, admit it, be upset, have your, pity party, and because it's expensive. And you put a lot of time and effort into those things, and so it's going to be disappointing. It's not, you're not human if you don't get disappointed about that kind of stuff. So, first 100 miler, I have yet to tackle a 100 mile. That is definitely something I'm looking forward to eventually, as much as you can look forward to 100. But I could imagine picking to do 100 this year under this environment, knowing that it might not happen. That would just be tough. All the races that I have this year, I've done multiple times. This will be my 8th Marine Corps marathon. JFK I've already done twice before. While I'd be disappointed, at least I've done them before. If it was a new race for me, like if I was, if I was in the Western States 100, and like I'll just put that out there, like my dream race. That's a bucket list race. I've wanted to do that race since I heard about it. And if I got signed up for that this year and was in it and it got canceled, I would be distraught, all kinds of angry. So Arlene M says, sadly, I would bet the Boston, New York City, Chicago, Marine Corps Marathon, London are going to be canceled. Smaller races might be okay. Yeah. I don't even like verbalizing that. It possibly could be. I mean, it just depends. I think the summer is going to be the deciding factor. Obviously, I'm not stating anything that's not obvious, but I think when, like, Virginia, June 10th is like the day the governor is like, hey, we're going to start trying to open things up again. And if people start to open things up and you get June, July, and August, and, the curve is kind of flattened and we don't see huge spikes, I think fall is potentially okay. But if we start to relax things and we see huge spikes, I think everyone's going to overreact and freak out, and they're going to go back to doing what we've been doing. So, I don't know. Sorry, I'm like shaking my table and the laptop with the camera. Sorry, guys. So you could be right, Arlene. I hope not, but you could be right. Thomas Top says, have one local event, 10-mile trail, still scheduled for June. We'll see. Also, 4 more races for fall. Fingers crossed. Yeah, I think I've had 2 races canceled so far this year, and I stopped signing up for anything just because of that. I just don't know. I'm hoping that that there'll be some leeway on some signups for races. Like, I don't know if they're going to cut everyone off, like if things have been delayed, or the races that, have gone past the point where they normally would have had a cutoff, if they would allow people to get in. This year just could be a wash. I don't know. A 10-mile trail race is a sweet distance. When I first started getting out into the longer distance, I ran a half marathon in trail half marathon. I think that was actually my first half marathon, was a trail half marathon, and it was awesome. It's an out and back. That's just like a great distance. But like 10 miles is, I think, my favorite distance in a training run. 10 miles. I don't know if it's like my OCD that just likes the round number of 10. But it's long enough to make you feel like you did a good work, and not too long where you feel like you are fried after it. I think there's an Army 10 miler too, which I've always wanted to do, but it's always right around the Marine Corps Marathon at JFK. West Virginia Running Don says, do you see runners wearing masks? I do not see too many runners wearing masks. I will wear one when I go around my neck, and then I do it for other people because so when I go on these trail runs where I normally won't see anybody, I might see a handful of people because of the distances that I run in the park. With all of the influx of people coming out there, there's been a ton of people that are just everywhere. And I've had people, and I've said these in my videos, I've talked about this, like I've had people react like, like I'm a zombie and they're going to catch something from me. Like, I mean, literally run off the trail 10 to 15 feet obnoxiously and like pull their their masks up over their face, because I wasn't running with a mask. And I get it, because I'm a big huffing sweaty runner coming down the trail, and I get it from their point of view, and I'm not blaming them. It doesn't feel good, people turning their backs, but I see people will have masks on. I see more people than not, but when you're out in the trails, I don't see as many. So to not freak people out when I'm running, and I think it's probably, I would encourage all runners to do it. I will wear, what do you call it, the thing you pull over your face? Drawing a blank. I'll pull that up just to kind of make other people feel better, and I kind of feel better that I'm not breathing in their stuff either. When I'm running on the roads, I don't see anybody wearing masks very much. At least in the last 2 weeks, I haven't. I try to do everything I can to make others feel better. I won't run behind a runner, even if they're like 20 feet ahead of me. I kind of try to offset myself. I'll run on the edge of the road if they're on the sidewalk, if other people riding outside. I don't want to run through their breath trail, if that makes sense. So there's a lot of aggravating things to deal with now with running. I think about it all, just trying to avoid other people's breath, but I don't know. It is what it is. I don't run with a mask on now, all the time. I feel like I'm being smothered. But I think as the days tick by, I've seen more and more people wearing masks than, a month ago. Thomas Top said, I'll stick with the larger. Thanks, 30 pound. It's great, congrats. A lager. I was like, larger. Oh, you like the... Oh, okay. I got you. See, I'm in there. Thank you. I appreciate that. Sorry, my phone's going off. Now we're going to put that... Where was I? Arlene M said, I'm signed up for the Trap Pond 50K on October 4th. It's small, so it might still be good to go. Also, the Miners Lady 8 hour in July. 8 hour, that's a good amount of time. So there's part of me that thinks the smaller races are going to kind of lead the way, because they'll have a model down. I think it's easier, obviously, logistically, with the amount of people being smaller to deal with that. So when you're starting to get into the thousands and tens of thousands, where it really becomes tough. And especially some of these local races, and I'm sure it's probably the same everywhere. These local races are centered around bringing in the local folks, I think, into them. Why the larger races are bringing a more international group, so it's a lot easier to deal with. And if you guys do me a favor, make sure you hit that thumbs up when you hear that. Helps the video and the metrics and all this stuff. I'm always talking about. So if you're in here, please smash that thumbs up for me. So Thomas Top says, yes, Max, I don't have Strava, but track otherwise and enter online daily progress. Okay, that's okay. Gotcha. Yeah, when they put on that virtual backyard ultra, that was crazy. And the way they ended with the guy getting kind of disqualified for not starting in time, like that was a huge thing. But I could see race directors maybe figuring out how to do this virtual stuff and doing a lot more virtual races, just because it's an easier way to make money. Because let's be real, while they are providing a service, they're out to make money. A lot of them are, not everyone. So I run some races where they donate every cent to a charity. So I'm not saying they're not money grubbing, but it's a good way to make money with not a lot of overhead for the logistics part of it. Thomas Top said, at West Virginia Dawn, I'm still shocked how few people on the trails around here don't wear masks nor move to the side. Yeah, so if you're not going to wear a mask, if you're just like refusing to, or you're not going to be considerate and start to cover up when you pass people, at least, I don't know what to say about that, because that's tough, because you need to be considerate. I make sure I run well around people, not only for my safety, but for theirs too, and their peace of mind. I don't want to be freaking people out when I'm running. That's the last thing I really want to do. I know everyone's got different levels of anxiety with this, and I've seen it. I've seen some people look like they really don't care just by their reaction. I've seen other people you could tell that it really bothers them just by how they're dressed and how they react when they come anywhere near someone. So I want to be respectful of that. I don't want to scare anybody or freak them out. I do know that there's been a lot of don't want to say anger, but I guess evidently I heard or read something that there was a lot of dog walking groups that were complaining about runners not wearing masks or not being respectful of them were walking on sidewalks and stuff. It's funny because I see more people walking dogs now than I've ever seen in my life. I mean, I've been running for 14 years, and it seems like all of a sudden there's 100 times more people with dogs. Either there's that many more people with dogs, or everyone's walking their dog now and they didn't used to walk them. But that's kind of funny. Joe Kearns asks, is any suggestions for trail races in your neck of the woods? I'm looking for another destination run. The trails, your videos look awesome. So the ATR, Venture Trail Race group, is an awesome group. They put on trail races not only here in like Northern Virginia and south of here, but they do some in up the East Coast. And evidently, over the last couple of years, they've been doing a lot of planning out races for groups to go overseas, which is pretty cool. So they're taking people overseas and running races over there and running trails, even training runs on, kind of historic and awesome places to go run, because obviously, United States isn't the mecca for this. I mean, I see trails and races from around the world, and there's so many beautiful places around the world to go visit. And so they've done a good job of trying to basically like plan all the travel and get you to pay for it and kind of all go through them. So I know that there is a lot there. They put on a series. They do like an 8-hour icy race. They do a 12-hour trail ultramarathon race. They put on all kinds of different really cool races. So I can recommend those. That's probably the only the company I can really recommend right now that I know of in the area in like Virginia that put on a lot of different races that I can say that are really good. I've heard a lot of really good things about. Thomas Top says, can check EX2 Adventure. They have some 10 milers for fall. Yeah, I've actually seen a couple more races that since I've been kind of out of the game for a couple of years, coming back, that I've seen a lot of. I'm excited about, because I've seen a lot of change and an addition to races, not just your standard distances, where they've been taking you to really cool places in the mountains and doing interlupal races and just things that are heavily vert with a lot of technical stuff. Like they're trying to center around like a theme, and I think that's kind of cool. Again, I love the 10 miler. 10 miler. I would run a 10-mile race. If somebody in the area planned a 10-mile like race, I would run it every month. That would be awesome. Like a 10-mile trail race, that would just be fantastic. Maybe I need to do it. Arlene M says, it may depend on the race director. My Calbone 24-hour, May 23rd, hasn't been canceled yet. The race director is waiting for the state laws. I run with my dog. Thomas says I run with my dog. Yeah, it's interesting. Like if you're in an area that there's really hasn't been any kind of orders laid out, or there's no laws preventing you doing it, some people might just be like, you know what? We only have, 100 people that come to this race. Why don't we just put it on? I mean, the first ultra I ever ran was the Belmonte double marathon. It's the Belmonte 50, but it's actually a double marathon. And the year I ran it, the first year I ran it, it was only like less than 100 people even started the race, and only 50 finished. So it's got very low numbers at start and very low numbers at finish. So, hey, Modern Day Tech, what's up, man? How are you? He's one of the supporters of the channel. I've been seeing you do some videos on, some door locks. I'm in the market trying to find one of those electric door locks. I'm interested in those. Yeah, lost my train of thought. Squirrel. Joe says, I thought about the Clearwater Marathon in January just to get a break from the snow. Yeah. I have not run a race in the snow yet. I've run races that other years have had snow. Again, like the Belmonte race, I've seen race reports and videos of people who had to run it in the snow, and I'm like thinking of how rough that race was. I can't even imagine running it in the snow. Yeah, you're one of the OGs, absolutely. You're definitely one of the OGs. And you're one of the Patreon supporters of this channel. So thank you for that. For quite a while now, probably going on a year now. So I appreciate that. So rules. I know I kind of wanted to make sure I read through everyone's questions and comments. So rules. So there could be rule changes in these races. I don't know what interesting rules there possibly could be. So, you know, the distance from each other could be a rule. What happens to you if you break a rule? Is there a foul? If you're running a race and someone, if you're not supposed to go within 6 feet of someone and you're breaking that rule, what happens? I don't know. Are races going to change at all? Like, what happens when you start doing these staggered starts and there's some technical issues with the starts, and people protest race results and stuff like that. Especially in those large races, there could be some craziness. And I still run races where they're not even doing chips. I mean, most races now have companies that do the chip timing, but not all races do. Thomas asks, how are your legs after the Sunday been? I've not been on a run. I was going to run yesterday, but I didn't. I'm going to run probably a little bit tonight, probably 1 or 2 miles. Shockingly, guys, I made that video that came out yesterday, kind of talking like my after race report. I don't know what it is. I had no DOMs. I feel my foot feels better than it did before the race, and my legs, I don't have any soreness. Now, granted, I told you I was going to purposely take it easy. I took it easy in that race. Didn't make it easier. So if you saw, running for 7.5 hours sucks, and it wears in your body, but it didn't make me sore. I'm not sore at all. At all. I mean, I'm walking up and down the stairs. I was walking up and down the stairs yesterday. I don't know what happened. It's actually kind of strange. It's kind of like in the days. I mean, that's when I talk about how ultramarathons change your body like forever. I think they do, because there's just no way that I should not be sore. I hope I don't have like an extreme case of DOMS for like day 4 after I'm locked up and can't make it up the steps. But no, I don't have any soreness. I was wearing the Lapetettes. Where do they have down here? So I got the Indo Lapetettes, and I wore those today because they are a recovery shoe and like a distance, like everyday trainer. And they're a tight fitting, thick material. Oh my gosh, they felt awesome. And I'm gonna do my review, and then I'll give them a fair shake. But I haven't run in them yet. But walking around in them all day today, it felt fantastic. They're the Kenyan, I guess the first running shoe company out of Kenya, and they're phenomenal. I haven't run in them, so I'll go around and order them and buy them. But I'm gonna do a review on them after I run some in them. At least I'm going to do my first impression of them, because I've done enough. I've put them on and warm enough now to give a first impression of the type of shoe. I got the Adrenaline 19s. I haven't run in them. Well, I ran probably a mile in them. I didn't like because my feet hurt. So I'll have to give them those a shake. I got the Glycerin, the Brooks Adrenaline Special Edition 20s coming in. The Hoka Speed Goat 4 saved my life, because the Mizuno Wave Inspires... yeah, it's the treadmill. Yeah, this is the treadmill. That's the treadmill right there that I ran 31 miles on Sunday. But the Hoka Speed Goat 4s saved my life. They felt like I was running on pillows. So they're a trail shoe, huge lugs on the bottom, like 5mm lugs on the bottom, but it felt awesome. My feet were at like mile 10 or 11 were kind of smoked. I'd been compensating for my foot, and treadmills, I don't know. My feet were just not happy, and they saved me. So yes, that's the treadmill. If you're in here and you don't know, I ran 31 miles on the treadmill Sunday, and that was it. And I got all the oil, and of course, literally, I was checking my email because I ordered the belt oil, and because it needed it before I actually did that, and it came in at like 2:30. 5. So almost literally 5 minutes after I finished the race, it came in. So last night I spent time, adjusting the belt, oiling it, because you have to use 100% silicone. Then I had some spray silicone for all of the joints and bolts and stuff like that, because I cannot stand squeaking. So yeah, that's it. So my legs. So that was a long way of saying, Thomas, my legs feel fantastic. I actually feel like I could go out for a long run. Now, how I feel 3 or 4 miles into it, who knows? But I feel great. No soreness. I'm going up and down stairs like a champ. Thomas asks, you know what, I went for just over 21 miles on Sunday. Yesterday was fine, but today with 10K was horrible. Yeah, so when I say I feel fine, that doesn't mean I can go out and just run 10 miles and be like good to go. I guarantee you, if I go try to run 5 miles, my legs will feel like, 50 pounds of, mashed potato. But as far as soreness, but again, so I don't know, was it you or somebody asked me before, like, about the soreness, and what I did immediately after running this ultra that I have not been able to do after any other ultra was take like an ice bath immediately. So I immediately went up to the bathtub and ran a cold bath and sat in that for 25 minutes. That probably helped a ton. It's Epsom salt bath, super cold, and I soaked immediately. And then I came straight downstairs, put my feet on the, feet up on the wall, and then let all the fluids drain. So I have to do all the things I don't get to do after races, because like even the JFK 50, when I finish that, there's 45-minute walk to the car as I'm hobbled, and then go back to the hotel, and it's a shower. I can't soak in anything, and then I got a car ride home the next day. So it's a long time before I can actually start doing things to help myself. But 21 miles, that's awesome. Yeah, people are cranking out some miles here recently. I was watching on Strava. A lot of people were cranking out some serious miles on the Sunday. So in the last part of this this question, and everyone can chime in here. So like the finish. So we can all say that they can control the start. One thing I've noticed in marathons is people lie. People lie about where they want to start. They want to start up in the front part, and they lie, because I pass a lot of people when I'm running. So there's a lot of jam up. When you start between like probably 4 hours to 5 hours, there's a ton of finishers. I don't know how they're going to control the finish. Like, you can control the start, but I don't know how you can finish the people coming across the line. Like, some places finish in weird areas. There's just not a lot of room to get people forward. Like every year, the Marine Corps Marathon, they're trying to push people out. You literally will get smashed. It gets so crowded at some point. So I don't know how they're going to do that. They're going to have to get better at moving people. And people don't want to move fast after running a marathon, typically. Oh, Tom, yeah, so saying it could be from running on the treadmill. That's true. Maybe the running on the treadmill did help. It didn't feel good on my feet. It had the same kind of effect on my feet like it would in a normal ultra, but I think on my hips and knees, definitely, probably, quads probably didn't get pounded because I was not running a ton of hills. And in marathons, I won't run a ton of hills, but in ultras, there'll be a lot of climbing. So yeah, that probably did play somewhat of an effect on it. I have all of the squishiness. This has the ability to turn all that on and have it be really super squishy, but I can't stand a squishy, that's not the technical term, a shock absorbent, whatever you want to call it, on a treadmill. I'm having a hard time thinking. Tired. But the old treadmill I did was I like a very firm treadmill, but you're right. This probably did help a little bit. And also that I didn't, try to run a PR. I don't think I probably had as many long runs. I did have a couple 2.5 hour runs, probably close to 3 hour runs. So I did have some longer runs that should have prepared my endurance a little bit and had me prepared. And I was running a lot of trails. So my legs are in pretty good shape. My legs are probably the strongest part of my entire body, is my quads. So they're pretty good at taking the pounding. But my feet are getting beat up, and that's just because of the weight. I'm 214 now. I'm just under 6'1", 214, and I usually run at 190. And that's super skinny for me. That's where people start saying I look sick when I'm 190. So I'm more of a muscular build. I don't know if you guys can tell. I look at people on the internet all the time, and I'm shocked when they say they're like 6'2". I'm like, for some reason they look like they're 5'8". I don't know if you guys can really tell. There's nothing to really measure me by to be able to tell that. So I'm hoping to get back down to like 195. That'll be super super thin for me, and it'll be a lot easier on my body. That's why I'm not running a ton of miles and not running as fast as I can all the time, because it's not good, at least at my age. Arlene says, I often do Jeff Galloway's run walk and have found the walks make me less painful at the end. Yeah. So I have a lot of feelings about run walking. Coming from like someone who's a sprinter, going 5, 10K, half marathon, like to me, it was always like a failure in my mind. If you walked, like you just didn't walk, it's running, you don't walk. And then when I got into ultras, you're forced to walk. And the reason I got into ultras is because I want to have a long running career. I saw that if I continued to run road races at the speeds that I was trying to do, at some point I was going to get slower. It just was going to happen. It was beating my feet up, beating my knees up. I was dealing with plantar fasciitis and things like that. So I decided to move to ultras because I could run slower. I could control that. And I know that, there's always the potential to move faster in an ultra. There's a lot more time to deal with and a lot more variables. So running on trails is a lot easier on my body. So the run walk method to me is super smart, especially in ultras. You're going to have to. It's smart to do that. But if you saw me run the treadmill, I think I did it smartly. I walked when I needed to walk to bring my heart rate down, and just there was no reason for me to sprint that. Not competing for anything, so I think it's smart. I want to have a long running career. I want to be like the people that I see out on the races and that are 60 and 70 that are still out there chugging along. To me, that's really inspiring. Those are the people that inspire me, the people who've been doing it a long time. I met a couple that were late 60s that had been running together for like 30 years. They run ultras together, and they're not as fast anymore, but they're getting it done. I mean, they're going out there and running together. Thank you for that super chat. It should pop up on the screen, Modern Day Tech. It should pop up on the screen. You should see a zombie running on the treadmill. I appreciate the super chat. That's the second super chat on this channel in the history of this channel. I got one on the treadmill Sunday. That's awesome. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I know there's a delay, so just keep an eye on the treadmill. Ooh, I got my Streamlabs bot work too. If you guys don't know, I am not a veteran streamer, so this is all new to me. Streaming kind of gives me anxiety with dealing because it's like I need to learn something else. But I'm having fun. I'm using Streamlabs, OBS, and I'm setting it up. There it is. I see it now. Look at he's running on the treadmill. Look at that. It's awesome. Well, you're second. I mean, the second's pretty good. You get the silver medal. You're the first one. So let's say this. So this is the very first Motivation Theory Run Club meeting. This is a hangout. Very first one. You are the first one to ever give a super chat in one of these. So you are first there. It's a completely different thing than the 7.5 hour streaming 50K. So you can definitely be first there. And I think you're first or second in the support and the Patreon supports too. So I really appreciate you hanging in there all these years and supporting me through all the different changes in the channel and stuff like that. Are there any other creators out there? Like I know Modern Day Tech is a creator. Is there anybody else that has like a YouTube channel out there that they are or they're hoping to do one? I know some people were talking about wanting to film their journeys into into races. And the funny thing is, when I first started doing YouTube, that's what really, one of the things I wanted to do was actually film like a documentary style, and follow myself through a race, because I find this interesting. You know, I watch Ginger Runner. He was one of the first runners that I ever followed on YouTube. And he does a lot of this documentary style. And then the Western States 100, the movie Unbreakable, the Western States 100 was another movie that kind of I've watched a million times. It's really, really good. Like, I want to do one of those. So as I'm kind of working on my filming chops and cinematography and all of that stuff, I want to do one of those. So yes, Modern Day Tech, you were first on Patreon. Look at that. So the first official super chat in the Hangouts and the first Patreon supporter. It's lots of changes throughout the years. Love it. You inspire me. I appreciate that. You actually live up near the JFK 50, up near the Sino Canal, from what I remember. Unless I'm remembering incorrectly. Beautiful area. Beautiful area. Ultimately, I think there's a Sino Canal 100, and that's not that far away. And from what I've heard, not that it's easy, because I've run 27 miles on the Sino Canal twice. It's not easy because it's flat. That might be the first 100 that I end up doing, is that race, because logistically it's easier to get to. Not only do I have to think about myself, but, you know, my family that comes to support me, I have to think about logistically, you know, how does that all work? So the least amount of effect I can have on them, the better. So, I mean, that's a close one. Relatively easy, and I don't like to use the word easy and 100 miler ever, because I don't think there's an easy 100 miler. So I know I sent out I sent out on the channel, I put out the poll asking what day works best for these. And I want to do it at least 2 days a week, but start off with one. Joe says, if races had weight classes, I would podium every time. Don't they? It's not weight class, it's ages, right? Don't they have, like, some, like, marathons, don't they have, like, Clydesdale? Am I not remembering that right? Where it is done by weight, kind of? I know they have age groups. Why do I remember that? Guys, if you guys have ever seen that in a race where they had, like, Clydesdale, like, weight classes, I don't know. Pretty sure that's a thing. I could be wrong. Modern Day Tech says, yep, I can be at Riley's lock in 10 minutes. See, that's awesome. If you guys, hey, just to give a shout out to Modern Day Tech, if you guys need someone who does an amazing job at reviewing tech and all kinds of stuff, like, he's got a phenomenal channel. He does a great job. So I know you can no longer click on people's name here and go to their channel, but just search up Modern Day Tech and go give him a look. He's a great guy and does a really good job at that stuff. I watch him all the time. I can't spend as much money as the stuff that I see I want to buy, but does a great job. But I know I have a bunch of your videos that I have to save in the watch later, because I have to go watch them, because I really do want a door lock, so I need to go check out the ones I saw. Yeah, I would love to have the Sino Canal or the JFK 50 be that close. That would be cool. I mean, it's not that far away. I'm a couple hours away, so it's not too bad. But we have a baby now. Any travel's not great. I have a feeling that if I have to do that again, I'm going to be going solo. At least for a while. Oh, I forgot what I was in the middle of doing. So the poll, let me go out and check the poll, guys. So I'm navigating to this. How do I get to it? On my channel. I wish they had a better way to getting to the community tab for creators. So it looks like right now we've had 10 votes, and 50% of them are for Tuesday at 5 p.m. and 20% are for Friday at 5 p.m. I didn't give anybody any other option than 5 p.m. So hopefully the 5 p.m. is not the deciding factor, but it looks like Tuesday is probably the best, and we'll probably hit that for a while. Friday sounds good. I'd love to do a Friday one too for half hour. I don't want to keep it. We're running up on 4 minutes left here. I want to be respectful of everyone's time and my family's time. Joe Kern said, I've seen Clydesdale class and stair climbing event. What? A stair climbing event? I've never heard of that. Masters over 40. Grandmaster is 50. Senior Grandmaster. Those are some awesome names. Being Grandmaster. I've seen Clydesdale in races. I know that I've seen that in actual races, and it's probably been years, but I know that maybe it's not socially acceptable anymore to divide people up by weight class. I might be there with you, Joe, if they had weight class for a while. I think right now that some of the paces that I can hit at my current weight, unless somebody's like 6'4" and they're just a beast. That's why I think if you start running to them, you start getting somebody who's like 6'5", that's just an absolute stud. There's no way you're going to be able to compete. And by no way you, I mean me. Thomas Top said, we'll try to have to exit the live chat to check out his channel. Yeah, don't leave now, but go check him out later. You joined the 40 plus this year? Joe, the funny thing is when I first started running, I would always look forward to kind of like the cutoff, like when they would go to the next class, and like, I'm at like the older end of the age group class, and so it's harder to compete. And one year I got third in my age group for a 5K, and I was stoked because I was, to me, I think I ran a 22-minute 5K. Back then I was running a 44-minute. I think I was in my mid-30s. I was running a 44-minute 10K, a 22-minute 5K, and I was trending down. And that's when I fell in love with half marathons, and ultras, and I stopped trying to be fast. So I think I'd like to try to do that again, but I think I'm 44 now. I don't know if I'm on the older or younger end of the age group thing. I think 44 is the start of the 44 to whatever. I could be wrong. It might be 40 to 44. Might not be doing good. Not a problem. Modern day tech. You've always done a good job. Make sure everyone to hit the thumbs up before you leave. If you enjoyed it. If you didn't enjoy it, you don't have to. I don't want to force you to. And this will go live after. And I appreciate everyone's thoughts on this topic, on what the races are going to look like in the fall. I'm hoping they still go on. I think we're going to have some grumpy runners if we go through a year without having races. I think everyone's kind of just dealing with it as like it's something we have to deal with. But if this extends beyond fall, I think there's going to be some pretty angry and grumpy people. So hopefully things will get figured out, and then we can start having the races again. Thomas says, I'm coming up on the 50. Shocker. Well, it doesn't surprise me. So most of my audience is between the ages of like 25 and like 55, most of them. And most of them are actually probably between like 34 and 55. And we're getting a little bit more evened out in the men-women area. So it's like 75% men, 25% women, which is actually pretty good for running channels. I know Confuci says his is like 5% or 10% or something like that. And just so you guys know, the reason I do this at 5 is Confuci does his live hangout at 4. He does his like 4 to 4:50, 4:55. So I'd be respectful of him and those people who kind of are audiences of both channels. I wanted to kind of not overlap him. He does that with Seth James Demore also, so we try to not step on each other. So not that I'm such a huge channel that it's going to affect him, but I want the ability for all of you guys to watch his stuff too and watch this. All right, everyone. Well, I think that's going to be it for today. We had a successful hangout. This is the first one. That's what lap 1. So when you see lap 1 in the thumbnail, instead of saying episode or something, I just want to say lap 1. So the next one will be lap 2. So all of you guys that are here that see this or hear this, you'll know what that means. And everyone else will just wonder about what that means. So I appreciate you all hanging out. I'm going to think on, if you guys have any ideas for a topic for next week, send them to me, or the next one for Friday. I'd love to hear topics. It's hard sitting on this side and talking for this amount of time. So I'd like to talk about whatever people are interested in. So you can shoot me an email. You can, any way you can contact me through comments on anything. I read all of the comments on the channel. So if you leave a comment on any video, I respond to every single one of them. I will see it. So let me know. Thanks, Arlene. Thanks, Thomas. Thanks, Modern Day Tech. Thanks, Joe Kern. Thanks, Arlene. Make sure I'm not missing anybody. Can I see? I can never see the participants. Like, it doesn't show anybody else in the participants. I got to figure that out. Greatness Every Day. Madeline, Bodine. Grendel. Anthony. Leslie. Everybody. Thank you for the super chat. Modern Day Tech, I appreciate it. And that's it. I'll see you guys in the next video. The next video coming out will be the first impressions on the Inda La Petite. That's coming out, so look forward to that. The Adrenaline series coming out, and that's it. You guys take care, be safe, and stay healthy. Hey, Mickey. Sorry, I'm signing off. Thank you for stopping by. Everybody, make sure you hit that thumbs up on the way out. I appreciate it. Take care.